how did the content of the book come about?
Well, like I said, I've been in practice for many, many years. And through the years, handling so many appeals regarding divorce situations, be it alimony, child support, equitable distribution, and so forth, I saw that there were many, many mistakes that were made, not only by clients themselves, but their trial attorneys. And so we decided to write a book. I talked about it for a number of years and then just decided to write a book that included information that most of the consumers would never really hear from their attorneys. Very practical things that would help them and guide them through a divorce, as well as including, and Roger wrote those chapters, the financial end of the book, as well as some other chapters. The book is 25 chapters long, but that have a lot of tips for lawyers themselves so that any lawyer reading the book will invariably learn something new and may reinforce things that they are doing or give them a new perspective of how to handle a particular situation. Because we talk about before you get divorced, during your divorce, and after your divorce, and covers so many legal topics in those spheres.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time this podcast finds you. Welcome to the 10 Golden Rules of Internet Marketing for Law Firms podcast. Got amazing guests today, brand new number one Amazon bestsellers. But as you all know, we start with a super quick commercial and then it's on to 100% content. So the commercial is for 10 Golden Rules actually today, my company, and it's for our internet marketing audits. Now we dig deep and we show you how you're performing in your market. We'll look at how you're performing versus your top 3 or 4 internet competitors. We'll show you how many AI searches, the new Google AI overviews, how you're doing in AI, how you're doing in Chat GPT. Is your AEO, your answer engine optimization, on point? How are you doing in Google Maps, local service ads? How much your competitors are spending in pay per click? We'll even do a test call to your firm and tell you how your intake team is doing. So if you want to get an internet marketing audit, go to 10goldenrules.com, ping me, notice me. I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook. I'm Jay Berkowitz, everywhere in the company's 10 Golden Rules. And without further ado, please welcome also Amy Shield and Roger Levine from Shield and Levine, PA. Welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Now, I'm super excited because Amy's my friend and we hang out in a lawyer networking group and we've gotten to have a few lunches and spend some quality time together. We're beyond that sort of networking. Hi, how are you? And I'm super excited because Amy and Roger wrote this book called Divorce SOS. I apologize if you're not on YouTube, if you're on the audio only. A good looking book cover, and it's called Divorce SOS: How to Avoid Costly Mistakes and Protect Your Money, Children, and Sanity. And not only that, but David French, a retired judge from the 15th Judicial Circuit, said, with my 50 years as a trial lawyer and a circuit judge, this is a must read for anyone getting a divorce. Amy and Roger, congratulations on the book and thank you for joining us on the 10 Golden Rules podcast.
Well, we appreciate your asking us to come on board today.
We like the opportunity to talk about the book.
And I understand number one new release and a number one bestseller on Amazon. Congratulations. It's really taking off.
Yes, we were really excited about that.
So we'll get into the book in a minute, but first, I'd love to hear a little bit about you, learn about the company, and tell me your journey. How did you get to where we are today?
I've been in practice since 1976, and I first decided to become a lawyer in junior high when I was on the debate team. And as a young lawyer, when I first became a lawyer, when I first was sworn in 1976, it was a recessionary period. And so I was desperate to take any job. And a firm opened for me for Appellate division. And so I became their appellate lawyer. At that time, it was litigation defense work, personal injury defense work. But my husband at the time, now my ex-husband, who was also a lawyer, wanted to move up to Palm Beach. And so I moved with him. We had started our practice, both of us in Miami, and a client of a friend of ours wanted to have an attorney handle an appellate matter for him in family law. And I really knew nothing about family law at the time. So I got a
Of course,
secondary
this would happen.
source and read everything I could on family law, handled his appeal, won, and now I'm a family law appellate attorney. And through the years, I've done a lot of appeals. About half of our present practice is family law. And I was fortunate enough to engage my son, Roger Levine, to be a part of the practice because after my divorce from my ex husband, I started my own practice and Roger joined me, and now it's Shield and Levine.
So it's always been a family business. That's great.
Yes, it has.
Roger, tell us your story.
So, from my end, I obviously grew up around lawyers and went through school, figured I would probably become a lawyer. And so, I college, liberal arts, law school. And then while I was in school, Amy would periodically come and ask me questions about, especially on the math side of things, despite me being in liberal arts and overlooking the material from forensic accountants. So that's where I ended up going and joined on with her since for me it was also a recessionary period and it worked out, but obviously it didn't immediately start off as Shield and Levine. Nepotism didn't get me that far. I had to prove my worth, and after being and proving I could do the job, we went from Amy D. Shield PA to Shield and Levine BA.
Got a nice sound to it. Congratulations.
Thank you.
But the obvious question I had is my interpretation, Amy, of everything I've ever heard about you guys is you're the super smart lawyers, to put it in consumer terms, but appellate attorneys and the kind of experts you bring in for litigation support are typically super experts. Yet you wrote the book for individuals getting divorced. How did you choose that direction? Although I love it. I love it because it's so well written and so simple. I can understand it. And just for the record, very, very, very happily married. Did not buy a divorce book because I'm interested in a divorce. So I wanted to get that on tape. But go ahead. How did the content of the book come about?
Well, like I said, I've been in practice for many, many years. And through the years, handling so many appeals regarding divorce situations, be it alimony, child support, equitable distribution, and so forth, I saw that there were many, many mistakes that were made, not only by clients themselves, but their trial attorneys. And so we decided to write a book. I talked about it for a number of years and then just decided to write a book that included information that most of the consumers would never really hear from their attorneys. Very practical things that would help them and guide them through a divorce, as well as including, and Roger wrote those chapters, the financial end of the book, as well as some other chapters. The book is 25 chapters long, but that have a lot of tips for lawyers themselves so that any lawyer reading the book will invariably learn something new and may reinforce things that they are doing or give them a new perspective of how to handle a particular situation. Because we talk about before you get divorced, during your divorce, and after your divorce, and covers so many legal topics in those spheres.
And then there's also from the more practical side of things, there are only so many divorce lawyers in Florida. And if you were writing something that's targeting that group, you're probably going to be writing like a 800 to 1200 page treatise or tome, and the market's pretty slim. Whereas for the general audience, there are obviously and unfortunately a lot of people who end up needing to go through the marital dissolution process, at least for those who like to draw a distinction between dissolution and divorce. And doing something that was around 70,000 words or the 275 ish pages is more achievable and more consumable by a larger number of people who are more likely to be helped by the book and by our experience.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. So look, I just want to start out with the very first thing. I read a couple of the nice words people said in the start and why you wrote the book. And then part 1, mistakes to avoid before you file a divorce. Chapter 1, change your passwords.
Yeah, well, the book has so many things: changing your passwords, how to handle social media. What do you do if somebody sends you, or your spouse or family member sends you a really nasty text? How do you answer it, or should you answer it at all? I mean, things like who gets the family pet. We talk about not only in Florida, but across the country, because there's all different rules and laws concerning who gets the pet, how to handle questions.
Wait, because you're skipping. I'm a dog lover. We're probably going to hear Parker barking at some point. I want to get into all those things, but I love the practical advice of change your passwords, because you told the story in the first chapter about a divorce was going along well, and the husband had found a new mistress, and they had this whole plan to shield and hide a bunch of assets, but the wife had access to all the passwords. Talk about that very practical advice.
Everybody has their life. Everybody has potential skeletons in their closet. Some of them aren't painful, but they can be inconvenient. And just changing all of your passwords, whether it's for your browser, your email, your logins, whatever, just change them all. And so you'll have some safety, because you don't necessarily want the person you're about to divorce or in the middle of divorcing to be reading that and to have that kind of internal look. Even more than that, you don't want them to have the ability to post to your account or to do anything or to screw with any of that. You want that locked down, and you want to know it's safe.
Yeah, good one. And at the very least, you don't want to see the communications with their attorney.
I mean,
Absolutely.
think of
And
all the people who have Nest cameras or Ring doorbells or whatever, and that's all online, and it's all recording, and people who have smart speakers and microphones in their house. If your password isn't changed, your soon-to-be ex can hear and see everything.
We had a case where the husband had the
Thermostat
password,
control.
and yes, the phone control, and he would raise the temperatures in the house during the summer months. That could have been preventable, but unfortunately, passwords weren't changed, and this poor spouse really suffered during the summer with the temperature constantly being turned up in her home.
yeah, actually, one of our team members, she had still had access to the phone records, and her ex-husband, they were separated, had all these long phone calls to a mystery number, which she of course determined who that was, and it was the new girlfriend. And all of a sudden the divorce was proceeding fast and furious, and she knew exactly why. So
Sure.
those are great pieces of advice. The social media piece, a lot of times we hear about personal injury. To close all your social media, and definitely don't post pictures of yourself playing tennis or whatever if you're in the middle of a personal injury case. What are some of the tips and best practices for social media while going through a divorce?
Stay off social media. That's your best tip of all. We've seen so many mistakes where someone will say, I don't have my bracelet or Rolex or whatever, and you see a picture of them at a function wearing the very piece of jewelry that they say they no longer have or never had in the first instance. You complain that you have no money, but yet you're showing on social media your latest holiday vacation.
Or you can't work, and you're doing something that obviously shows you're physically and emotionally capable of working.
Another part of social media is posting. And sometimes we have seen situations where the children get hurt because one spouse will post all sorts of nasty things about the other spouse on social media, and the children have access to it or hear about it through their friends whose parents have access.
So we teased it, but who gets the family pet?
Well, that
It depends
depends
on the
where you
state.
live. What state you live. Unfortunately, in Florida, the family pet is considered with the same materialistic quality as a lamp or a piece of furniture. It has very little emotional value, even though with humans, we look at our pets as part of the family. Unfortunately, the courts in Florida do not view them that way. However, if you go to New York or California, they have rules where you can have custody and visitation privileges with your pet. So again, it depends on where you are in the country, and the book covers that, how your pet will be considered, whether it's going to be considered like a piece of furniture or almost human.
That's great. So I love the book for recommending to folks who are going through a divorce, and for attorneys to recommend and share with their clients and counselors as well. It's also great for networking. And I've already sent the book to a bunch of people. I introduced you to two divorce coaches, and we call it thought leadership when I talk about how to do the kind of marketing, frankly, that this podcast and our webinars and our YouTube and our social media and our my speaking from stages. So, how has the book worked for you as a thought leadership vehicle?
Well, we get to show that this is our expertise. This is we can show it off. It's distilled down to an easy to read format, as you've recognized, and hopefully people buy it. For certain legal events that we go to, we can just hand out copies to those who either may be interested or honestly may just really need it. Since there is such useful practical advice for practicing attorneys, and from there, people recognize, people see, hey, we wrote it. They can cross reference and cross check because we have dozens of pages of citations in our appendix. And then they know, they can come to understand fairly quickly that we know what we're talking about and we're worth hiring.
Yeah, it's worth $1,000. Like, it's the $1,000 business card, right? Because I wrote my first book 22 years ago, and often I'm introduced to someone as, "Oh, you've got to talk to Jay. He wrote the book on internet marketing." And in reality, I wrote it 23 years ago. So there wasn't a lot of books, courses, or even people who were using Google at that time. So I'm sure you guys will have tremendous success and exposure from the book. I want to start with one of the basic things that everybody always asks. How did you get it done? How did you write the book?
I wrote it evenings and weekends, and I had the most wonderful husband who was very understanding. And Roger also, you'll have to tell how, where, and when you wrote it. It took us about a year because we had to work it in between our busy practice. But I thought it was worthwhile to do, and I'm happy we completed the project. And I'm even more happy that it's done so well on Amazon to be #1 bestseller.
Roger, how did you find the time?
For me, it's nights and weekends. So, just on a personal level, I'm more of a morning person in the sense that 1 a.m. and 2 a.m. are 1 in the morning and 2 in the morning. And I can easily be productive and it's quiet. And
That's a
unlike the
great one.
3 times during this Zoom meeting where the phone has rang already, that doesn't happen at that time of night. So I can have, because as appellate attorneys, we write a lot, but it's just transitioning to what subject we're writing on. I can have the peace, the quiet, and the time to get the job done.
Now, did you write the table of contents first or some kind of guide and divide up the chapters?
What I actually did is initially I did an outline, a pretty detailed outline, because otherwise I would be all over the place. So I first divided it into sections: before the divorce, what you should do during your divorce, and then after your divorce. And then once I got the three parts, then I divided it into various chapters and then began researching each of the chapters. Although I had a basic understanding of some of the law and a great understanding of most of it, I wanted to find specific cases because we didn't really want to talk in detail about any of our own cases, obviously, attorney client privilege. So I was looking for cases that I could talk about that were not exactly my own cases, but were very similar in fact pattern or in the hold-in, what I was trying to accomplish, or the point I was trying to get across. So that was time consuming, and I was doing it in between, like I said,
Yeah.
evenings and weekends.
And
Yeah.
of
I know
course,
when you guys get a big case, you're on the case for several weeks.
Yeah. More
yeah,
than that, we have cases that the records themselves can run anywhere from a couple thousand pages to 15,000 pages. So there's a lot of reading involved in handling an appeal.
but separate from that, when it just comes to the writing side of it, of course, it's not like you pick a chapter title and then that's set in stone and you're just siloed in it because the layout changes as you're developing the process, as you're trying to find the perfect cases, since this is something that we find so often in regular practice, whether it's family law or general civil practice. Too many attorneys, when they are researching, oh, this case has great language. This sentence is amazing. And then they immediately put it in their court filing. Problem is, the rest of the facts, the holding of the case, the real meat may be completely opposite, whatever that magic line is. And then when it comes to us, we take that, we flip it around on them, and then they get embarrassed. The lawyer, not even the client, the lawyer gets embarrassed before their court, and that helps us win a great number of times. So when researching for this book, we don't want to pull just one little blurb or one. We want to make sure, to the best extent we can, that the whole case fits what we're doing.
So congratulations again on your success on Amazon. I know we met several months ago and I gave you hopefully a teeny bit of advice on how our books got to the Amazon bestseller list. What are some of the marketing things that worked for you?
Pre-release word of mouth is one of the biggest ones, followed along with some email campaigns to more generate basic awareness amongst the legal community. And those two things were really enough.
Great.
We pushed and we had all of our plans lined up in advance. Just like the book says of being prepared, we were prepared. Just like the book says of having your internal narrative, your game plan, that's what we had. And it was fully sufficient to get the results we needed.
Yes.
And we were number one for like 2.5, 3 weeks, something in that range.
hmm
That's awesome.
We also did some social media, short posts, 15, 30-second posts on social media as well regarding our book.
In targeted community. So it's not just, hey, here's a YouTube video, or hey, here is a random short, but it's more posted to the areas and the portions of the web that somebody's more likely to have found during that early media blitz.
So you're attorneys, you wrote a book, you got to Amazon bestseller for several weeks. What's one piece of advice you would give an attorney who's thinking of writing a book?
I would say to somebody who's writing a book that the best thing that I did was outline. Have an outline, have a general idea of what you want to say. I looked at a lot of other books on the subject matter because I wanted my book to be different, and it is different. So I would give that piece of advice. Know your subject matter, write something you're comfortable with, outline it, and then good luck. Just work hard. And the biggest thing is, I think that mistakes that are made is that a would-be author tries to make each chapter perfect before going on. I think you just have to write the book and then come back to it and edit, because if you keep trying to make chapter 1 or chapter 2 perfect, you may never get beyond chapter 1 or chapter 2.
Yeah,
And
so true.
frankly, the editing process, we trimmed probably about 100 pages worth of material to get it down to around 275, including the index.
Yeah, less is more for sure with all writing, right?
hmm
What's the famous line? It took me half an hour to write a 3-page letter, and it took me 3 hours to write a paragraph.
Sure.
There's a much better way of saying that. So you've got a busy legal practice, and now you've got an Amazon best-selling book. What's the number one thing the book's done for your practice?
Well, the book's only been out for a short period of time, just a couple of months. But I think that the word of mouth, people are always asking us about the book. How's the book doing? And I think in the future, when we go to some of the conferences, that it will really help our practice even more because of what Roger talked about earlier, the authority that we have with being an author in a specific target area.
Really, it's just raised awareness about us because appellate law is a very niche practice. And then within that, we're the subset of family law for appellate practice. I remember a number of years ago, one of the major attorney referral services came to us wanting us to sell us promoted placement through their attorney referral search engine. And they wanted just an astronomical amount of money for it, but I considered it might be worth it. So I asked them for the Tri-County area, more or less the three most popular counties in Florida at the time, how many hits do you get? And they said 1,500. So I said, was that, and that's for appellate attorneys. And that wasn't even family law appellate attorneys. That was just appeals in general, civil, criminal, whatever. They said 1,500 a day, a week, a month, no, a year. And that wasn't even unique hits. That was 1,500 times over the entire year. Everybody nationwide searched for appellate attorneys in our area. So it's very niche, but having the broader family law community and then as well the broader readership community, when you think of therapists who may want to recommend it to their clients or people who then say, hey, this helped me and pass it on to their friends, it lets everybody know who we are and what we can do.
I hear a lot of attorneys talking about prepping their clients for court and prepping them for depositions. I love chapter 8, dress and decorum in the courtroom and online hearings. I guess that's very important in family law, but it's important in all areas of law. So what advice do you have for folks going to court and going to depots and online depots?
Well, those are two separate chapters. One's basically of what to wear and how to act in the court when you're at a hearing or having a deposition. And the other is how to prepare for a deposition and how to answer questions if you're being cross-examined at trial or being questioned during your deposition. There's a right way and a wrong way to answer the questions. And we go into great detail to help the reader understand what they need to do and how they need to prepare. Because so often we have seen when I've read transcripts, and I've read thousands of transcripts through the years, and I can usually tell when someone hasn't been properly prepped because it's just obvious that they do a horrendous job. They don't answer questions properly. They get inconsistencies and so forth.
Let me ask a two-part question then.
Okay.
What's the best strategy for how to dress for court?
Well, you want to dress in the socioeconomic or financial circumstance that you want to portray to the court. So, for example, if you are saying, I don't have money to pay my child support or my alimony, and you walk into court and you're conservatively dressed, but you're wearing a Rolex watch and a diamond pinky ring, that is not a very smart thing to do. And we talk about that as one example in the book of a true story that happened to an individual who was claiming that he had no money, because judges can look at any asset that you have whatsoever, whether it's jewelry or money in the bank.
Or the things you have literally on you. When Amy is saying jewelry, she means what you are actually wearing at that moment.
Yeah.
And the court can direct the bailiff to take it from you.
Oh my God.
So that was one example. So you want to dress conservatively. I guess rule of thumb, dress like you're going to a job. How would you dress if you're going to a job?
A white collar
A
job.
white collar job. You don't want to show up in shorts and thongs or just super duper casual. You want to show respect for the court, because a decision about you is made not only in everything you say, but how you look and how you act. So the other part of it is how you act in court. You don't want to be chewing gum. You don't want to be playing with your phone or texting during the proceedings. And one thing that we've seen clients do, and I've seen in transcripts where judge admonish, sometimes even the attorneys, is when a witness is testifying, the last thing you want to do is roll your eyes or shake your head. You may think that you're helping the judge understand that this person testifying is lying, but all you're doing is aggravating the judge. So don't shake your head, don't roll your eyes when somebody is testifying. Just act professionally. And that's the best advice I can give as far as how you would conduct yourself during a hearing.
And this requires a double reminder for that for any online court process. Ever since, especially COVID, when Zoom or Slack or whatever process you're using that would allow an online hearing, sometimes even an online trial, a lot of people forget. They're in their home, they're comfortable. Some of them are crazy enough they're doing it in their car or while they're at the supermarket or the mall. Don't. You got to be somewhere where it's quiet. You have to be somewhere where you won't be showing any kind of interruption or anything that would interfere with the process. And just because you're online, hey, this is a informal Zoom conference. So this is where we're just talking for this podcast. So It's fine with me just wearing a shirt, but even though this is a private office here, if this was a court proceeding, suit and tie because I'm a guy, and it doesn't matter. And that means a full suit and tie. If you need to get up, you don't want to be exposing anything.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
really
no,
important.
Zoom
There've been
shorts, right?
Yes, there have been some embarrassing moments
Not for
online as
us.
far as that. Not for us, but
No Zoom pajamas. And another chapter that stood out for me was how to choose your attorney. So, how do you pick a lawyer? What's some of the best advice you all have?
well, we did this chapter as a whole bunch of questions. So, Roger, you want to talk about it, or then I can jump
So
in?
you need to find an attorney that fits your personality and that fits the litigation style you want to pursue, and then can also fit with whatever behavioral patterns your particular judge winds up preferring. Because judges are people too, and as much as they are supposed to be dispassionate, they're all going to have their own proclivities, their likes, their dislikes. And while that rarely raises to the level of bias or prejudice, a tenth of a point here or there can add up and really reweight your case. So you want an attorney who is going to mesh well with the judge, but especially is going to mesh well with you. If possible, you want an attorney who isn't so busy that he or she is going to be unable to take your calls and emails and respond timely. You want an attorney who can and is willing to review all the material you give them, and an attorney who knows the law and is willing to draft appropriate filings for your case and is willing to consider multiple strategies, multiple tactics, and as part of that, think more than 5 steps ahead. If you have an attorney, I just need to get you past this filing. Well, what you put in filing number 10, docket entry number 10, might come back and really bite you in the rear 8 months later, docket entry number 236. Everything you file, unless you can get it withdrawn, is forever. It's going to affect your whole case. And since your divorce is probably going to affect the rest of your life, everything you file is a real possibility of affecting your whole life. And you need an attorney who can recognize that.
One thing you should also do before you see the attorney is get your documents, get financial documents, as many as possible. So you want to get bank statements, tax returns, and so forth, because number one, it helps the attorney that you're meeting with at your initial conference know a little bit more about your case. Secondly, financial documents have the uncanny ability to disappear once the case is filed, once the divorce is filed. So you really want to have those documents in hand and accessible to you. And if you need be, make copies, whatever, open them up in a separate account, whatever you need to do so that you have them, because we have found over and over and over again through our practice, both in litigation support and in handling appeals, that documents do disappear once a case is filed or once discovery begins.
That's great advice. Well, this was fantastic. And I wish you both tremendous success with the book. I know it's going to be awesome for you both and for your practice. Now, you don't get away though, because as you know, at the end of our podcast, we always ask the quick one-line answers. And I guess we'll give you both a shot at these. So the first one, and this is more personal stuff, not about the book. Do you have any apps or techniques you use for personal productivity?
I use Microsoft Office, and that is good enough for me.
Ditto.
Do you have a personal wellness and fitness routine?
Yes. I believe there are four things that you need to do in order to stay healthy. One is your nutrition. Two is movement, exercise routine. Three is sleep. And four is to try to manage your stress. And at one time or another, they're out of kilter for me, but I do my best to try to stay within the best I can with all four of those items.
That's great advice. Roger, how about you?
Fortunately, I'm still at the phase in my life where I can get up and nothing hurts. But
God bless.
yeah, beyond that, make sure to speak with the appropriate professionals you need as soon as you need them. Don't put off going to the doctor. Don't put off going to a shrink. And this is especially true if you're going through or planning a divorce. You're going to be placed under extra stress. You're going to need somebody who can help you through this process, who's not charging you a lawyer's rate.
Next one is best business books that you recommend.
Well, the
How
best
about
business book for
advances
me,
in internet marketing?
Thank you. Oh, you mean the Advanced Internet Marketing for Law Firms? Thank you very
absolutely.
much. Good one.
I would say that, and also Divorce SOS. I would highly recommend that book as well.
So I know where we're going with the next question. Blogs, podcasts, and YouTubes. Is there anything you subscribe to and when it hits your feed, you immediately stop everything and listen to?
Well, I like to look at your podcasts.
Yeah.
I listen to Darren Daly every morning. I enjoy that. Sometimes he has really good advice, and sometimes it's okay, but I enjoy starting the morning looking at his messages for the day.
I'm on the exact opposite side of that spectrum. I don't have an RSS feed. I don't have anything. And when I go to look, it's because I'm specifically hunting for whatever topic I want to listen to that moment. And I will see what the algorithms without cookies can provide me.
Fantastic. Do you have an NFL or sports team?
Well, my husband's from Philly, so it's got to be the Eagles.
I heard someone went to the Eagles game the other night and they're disappointed they didn't play Hotel California.
Yeah.
The last two questions are super easy. What's a great introduction for you all? Who should we send your way in our networking?
I prefer family law attorneys should be sent our way. And anybody who's looking for somebody who wants their family law attorney to have an extra set of eyes and brains on their case.
And we're usually retained in high net worth divorces and family law cases because they want our expertise. Some lawyers have called us their secret weapon, others have called us their lawyer's lawyer, but we come in and we help them throughout the proceedings so that they will have the strongest record if there is an appeal by either side.
Great. And the last question, where can people get in touch with the lawyers' lawyers?
Well, their attorneys can get in touch with us either through our website, Shield and Levine, PA, or they can contact us through phone and email. But then the general client comes through because remember, we're not divorce lawyers, even though half our practice is divorce law. So we don't come in at the trial court level, but your trial attorney is more than welcome to call us and we'll see what we can do to assist your case.
Yeah, what Rogers, I think, means is that when we don't come in at the trial court level, we don't come in as your attorneys representing you directly in your divorce proceedings. We're more stay in the background, advising your lawyer and helping to give you the strongest case possible.
Amy, Roger, this was lots of fun and I'm so proud and happy for you. Good luck with the book and congratulations and thank you for your time today.
It
You're
was
very
our
welcome.
pleasure.
Thank you for listening to the 10 Golden Rules of Internet Marketing for Law Firms podcast. Please send questions and comments to podcast@10goldenrules.com. That is podcast@TENgoldenrules.com.